Popper 18!
Popper 18! And we're so excited to welcome the fabulous Madeleine Kabat. Madeleine is a cellist in the Milwaukee Symphony, was acting principal cello for a year, right? I've known Lynn, God, how many years have I known you, Lynn? Since 2005 or 2006 through Rochelle.
It's long enough that I have no clue when it started.
Just my whole artistic career, I've idolized Lynn. I think she's just such an incredible cellist. I mean, how many people do you know who've debuted as a soloist with the Cleveland Orchestra when they were a teenager? Not that many, but Lynn has such an incredible cellist and such a nice person. And yeah,
we're delighted to have you on.
So special to have you here.
Well, it's my pleasure. I was so thrilled when I got the email from Katie because I'm the biggest cello dork when it comes to Etudes, and
join the club.
Masochist because I actually practice. Sometimes I play through Popper for fun. I see how many of them I can get through, just kind of before I'm overwhelmed mentally. But
we must do that next year.
Taking it to another.
Let me know when.
I think we've got enough going on. 1 a week.
Remember, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Lynn, but I'm not going to make you do this now, but I remember you singing Queen of the Night aria at one point. It was something you learned for fun. Party trick.
Yeah, because somehow I can nail the high stuff. I can't do anything other than that, but
That's cool. I like it. It's good party trick to have.
It impresses people who don't know any better.
Popper 18. I mean, we're so glad to tackle this one this week, and what's great about this is that there's 3 different approaches to how we start to, if someone's actually approaching this for the first time, and what you think about it. So, Lynn, what did you think straight off the bat? You picked this one, so you must like it.
I did it to myself. Well, right off the bat, this is sort of a side note, but I did all 40 of them in high school for the first time with my one of my high school cello teacher, and he always had me write the date of when I did each of them on my music. So I don't know if you can see at the top there. Oh no, it's escaping. Okay, I won't try that.
What does it say?
August 31st, 2001. So 20 years ago is the last time I played this for real.
Brilliant.
I've probably read through it since then. Actually, the reason I picked this one is one of my students recently picked this one for himself to play, and I was like, oh, I forgot how good this one was, and so I started kind of looking at it, and that was maybe a month before you asked me to come on this podcast, so it was fresh in my mind, and I was like, oh, that one actually can be really beautiful, so that's why I picked this. And so then when I started trying to learn it right off the bat, it was so I was like, okay, so what is this one focusing? What technique aspect is this focusing on? And first thought was clearly thumb position. It's so many of these are. So then I was like, well, that's a little bit generic for Popper. So what else is he trying to aim for with this particular one? And maybe you guys can help me on that, because I have 5 different things and it's I can't narrow it down. There's just so many little aspects that are stuffed into this one, and so
I don't think Popper ever only gives one task. We've only, I think, come across maybe one of them at the moment that has literally only had one task. So
right.
He's trying to keep us doing so.
Let the up bow and down bow staccato.
Exactly.
So I think for me, there's a lot of sequences and arpeggios and stuff. So honestly, I feel like intonation is the biggest problem with just kind of nailing high arpeggios. Scales are one thing, but I feel like arpeggios, there's more shifts, bigger shifts. So maybe just the intonation with shifts, and also it's all 16th notes, no change in rhythmic. What do you call that? It's just
impulse.
Yeah, and you have to add time in to make it breathe musically, and so for me, adding time that made sense musically, but also facilitated some of the technically difficult shifts or places is sort of trying to meld those two issues into one. So
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that about the tempo, because we have this like super nerdy Baronreiter edition of the Popper, and it comes with an insert that gives you like little.
I think
practice
I need
tips.
this. Okay.
Oh my god, you do need this.
Mental note for later.
When's your birthday? You're getting such a copy. So a lot of them have like quite conservative. It's got, because it's German, it's got like a practice tempo and then an actual tempo. And usually I'm like quite surprised because I'm like, oh yeah, they're pretty like slow. I think the practice tempo for this one was like dotted quarter note or dotted crotchet equals 60. So it was like quite fast, like way faster than I can definitely play it. And I was thinking, I don't know what you played it at, Lynn, when you've been practicing it, but there's just some passages. There's just some passages, like especially the arpeggios around like the fifth line where you start going.
Those things.
Yeah. I mean,
first one's easy, and then the other two are like.
I can concentrate for about one of them. I mean, actually, that spot in particular, because exactly what you said. I mean, intonation of the like the thirds and stuff is so tricky in this. But for me, I thought Ailbhe would probably like rock out at this because she's so good at Popper 40. It's like a very pianistic technique up here when you have those harmonics. You almost have to just like really nail touching the string, kind of like in this.
Yeah, but also remembering to take your other fingers off as well, which is,
right.
you spend so much time organizing your hand, and then you actually have to make sure that you do lift the previous finger, or else the harmonic won't speak clearly. So.
It's walking on eggshells, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then having a firm enough bow in the right place for it all to speak and not squeak, and there's a lot going on when you get up there, having to keep a cool head,
I discovered something in the like 5 minutes of piano practice right before this, which I wish I discovered sooner. But like if we look at those bars, so this is like the 5th, 6th, and 7th note of each one. So those 3 notes in each thing, I wish I had just individually practiced those more. Like if you just break those down and really nail those, they're kind of like, for me anyway, the transition between the lower positions and this stuff, which kind of stays the same.
And also keeping that similar shape, but just slightly smaller for the higher version of it. So you can actually just, you remember, and then just adjust accordingly with your left hand. I should really put down my cup of tea so I can demonstrate properly with my real hand.
I wanted to add on what Katie just said, just because that was exactly kind of what I was thinking, and I used the timing when I was practicing for the next 2 measures. I would purposely sort of slow down there and bring that out while I was practicing. Especially the first one. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, exactly. And
but actually like stretching it out to ensure that I was like training my hand to really nail that particular one, because I agree that as long as you hit that note, everything else kind of
follows.
Waterfalls down from it.
Big time.
It's such a like great thing to practice, because I'm sure we have all had like times in the repertoire where you have to do like a weird kind of thumb to first finger extension, but you hardly ever have to do like different ones in a row like that. It's like really you have to get that accuracy so good in this passage. Anyway,
I actually found those measures. That was to me the hardest part of this whole thing.
I think so too.
Absolutely.
So when I was trying to record this for to give you my final recorded version, I got to that part. I got about a half a page in very many times, and then it was just like. Yeah. So that was kind of the tricky spot. There were a lot of tricky spots recording, so I actually another challenge other than learning it, actually recording it in one shot was a completely different challenge than learning it, because it's okay, I've got everything figured out, but am I going to nail all these random tricky spots in one take? And that was difficult, more difficult than I anticipated, but it was happy
real
challenge for me.
concentration one, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's great because we're all doing that at the moment, especially with the times that are in it. That I don't know about you guys, but I'm certainly doing so many more recorded concerts than usual. And we did this recorded concert on Tuesday. It's 4 cello ensemble concert, and it's a digital tour. So they're selling it. Yeah, exactly. Win-win. And so they're selling it in like 2 venues. So they're putting it out for local audiences, but it's all digital. So it's kind of cool. Except we had 2 hours for the film crew and us to do the whole concert. And the concert was maybe like an hour long. So we had to do everything in one take. Everything was one take. So, and
it's
I
a
had
lot of
written
pressure.
a piece.
And you think it's going to be online forever potentially, so.
Exactly, and like one of the pieces was a quartet I wrote, and you can imagine having the composer there as well while everyone's trying to play it really well, and then I'm kind of going, oh, that wasn't, but there was no opportunity for that. So it's really good practice for us to do any kind of recording, to get used to the fact that you have to nail it now, because I think that's going to be more of our future actually.
Right.
As musicians, yeah, it's interesting.
Totally. Yeah. And I was just going to add on to that. It's, you know, Ailbhe and I, because we're doing these every week, we talk a lot about, like, you know, the popper studies, many of them are super repetitive, but a lot of times it's this, like, concentration thing, like, both concentration and actual, like, how tired you are by the end. I don't know about this one. Like, I feel a little tired by the end. It's, like, keeping that consistency of the stroke, isn't it? But also, like, just the concentration. It's so easy by the 3rd page to just be like, okay, checked out.
Yeah.
I've been...
I know. I didn't do the repeat. You know, disclaimer. I didn't do the repeat on the first page because I was like, well, you know, let's.
We're not doing it either.
Do our priorities here.
This is an interesting thing to discuss. Is the stroke?
Yeah.
Did people do a brush stroke or did people do a mix? I kind of went in and out depending on where I thought it was cool and where it wasn't. And some of the places like I love the longer stroke there, but then maybe a little shorter. I just love the variety in it. But some people play it very straight all off. Some people play it very straight all on. Now I was also playing it, you know, getting ready for the fact that I've already rehearsed for this entire week. Probably a little slower than it should be, so the off the string stroke works a little bit better for that.
Yeah,
it's more fluty.
I'm glad you brought up the bow strokes because that was a question. It all it says is very light with the bow. So, you know, what does that mean? I'm trying to, and it is much easier lighter, just sort of, so I started gravitating towards being out a little further to get the lightness to, I felt like for me personally, it started getting too heavy if I did it down here and, you know, I can't really, you're sort of forced to do it off the string if you're so close to the frog. But then you're right, some of it is easier to play that way. And so I think what you know, you can do many different options here, and it doesn't really specify. So to each their own. To me, my decision ended up being staying pretty much the middle of the bow and brush stroke on. So I didn't do very much off at all. And for me, that was because I was looking at the tempo, and so we're in 6/8, and it's all 16th notes. So allegro molto moderato is so. You know, I start practicing and learning, and then I read that again, and I was like, "Ooh, this is like an allegretto that I'm doing, like, you know, trying to nail everything, and I need to bump my tempo up." And so, in doing that, I found it easier to stay on-ish because if I was bouncing too quickly, it sort of some of the technical stuff I would lose control. So for me, it's sort of. Pretty on, and then sometimes when I started taking time for musical places, I would, just like what you were saying, those things that, you know, I could differ my bow stroke a little bit more because I'd have more time to sort of control. But yeah, boy, I would be impressed I'm impressed that you played it off because that sort of makes more sense, you know, in a character way. I felt too out of control myself.
No, I just think that it leads itself, to having a different sound and working quite well both ways. So I think when people are approaching this, it might be fun to try it both ways and try it in different areas of the bow, see where you find it speaking the best, what point of contact with those two different options. That you really can play around with it a lot more than just picking one and going with that. I think we probably all tried it various ways.
I think to add on to what you both said and sort of like synergize that, I mean, I think the thing is, right, like Popper's really exploring this thing of like psychologically when we're up high, it's scarier to be out here in the sense that, you know, we're open and vulnerable and it's scary, but actually when you're used to that, there is much more ease with the coordination and the stroke. So, like, I just think they're so genius. I mean, he's so genius in that way because, yeah, if you're trying to play light and off the string up here, it's going to be just, you know, really, really challenging. I have to say, too, like, I feel like I kind of took the easy road because, I don't know, we'll see what happens when I play it through, but I basically played it, like, off the string when it was all the lower octave stuff, like, down there, just for clarity and closer to the frog, but,
that makes total sense. Maybe I should have done more of that there. Yeah, too late. I was in like a one-track mind of like, okay, don't screw up this take in the easy part, you know? Like just keep
it. The inner workings of all our minds, right?
Yeah.
So what other parts did you find like interesting or challenging, guys? I'm thinking, I mean, there's obviously that like really awesome harmonic thirds passage. Again, it's one of those things, I think if you've like less background in sort of theory and stuff, you're a younger cellist, getting used to hearing all those intervals really, really clearly and stuff. It's so good for intonation.
Yeah.
I love that passage too. It's so like romantic, the harmonies.
I know the music is really good in there.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's a juicy bit.
We should probably talk about the fact how we organised our hands, just for anybody watching who's just a bit concerned about that area. That definitely for me, making sure that was a tone and knowing where the tone was as opposed to the semitone. That was really important to know where the tone was. Even if I just know where that is, all the rest is all semitones. And then
I agree. I even circled that like as I was looking at it for the first time, just to make it easier for me to like learn it instead of having to think about it every time. I circled the one that was like a whole step. Yeah.
It's too hard. Exactly. Sorry, I should have said whole step because we're.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, you did right.
Please translate it because I'm
good. I'm good. But then it was very interesting for me there. So here, you have your tone, so your whole step. But at some point, you do have to bring your thumb over. Did you guys bring your thumb over at a certain point, or did you just chance it? Because we know that organising is going to make it more efficient. But
it's interesting you say that too. You guys are like totally reading my mind on all my little things I would like have written in here. Because I wrote thumb move over, literally. It's like in my part right here. I sort of choreographed it, and I wrote it in, let's see, so. I wrote it right there. So I was supposedly I meant to move my thumb from the D and G to the A and D here.
Yeah.
So I could get that B.
Exactly.
And then same idea 2 measures later. But then as I sped my tempo up later on in the process, so I had that all figured out and I like practiced moving it in that perfect little moment where I was doing something else with other fingers. And then, you know, it got too cluttered, like it was a little clunky. And so I ended up, and I don't usually do this, but using like 3 different spots on my thumb instead of 2. Because I mean, not to speak for everybody, but I think most of us are comfortable with like, you know, 1, 2, like having 2 strings. And I don't usually use like, where's my camera? like this part to press it down. But I ended up doing that in the end. I found it just easier for myself to keep going if it was, so I didn't actually...
it's interesting because I actually hadn't thought about my thumb placement there. Oops. But I think I'm doing what you did, Lynn. Like, I kind of just, when I got up to that E, I just kind of stuck it over. But yeah, again, like, usually I wouldn't. It's just sort of like, it's interesting when you're learning something in a short amount of time, like what your tendencies are when you do them, and then, you know, you
What
kind of
steps
step
you
back
forget.
and analyze it differently. Yeah. I don't.
Yeah. And Lynn, you looked like you were going to say something very exciting.
Oh, I get excited with Popper. So
Me too.
I think I was just saying something about the sort of the process of, like, you know, I spent a lot of time figuring out exactly where I was going to move the thumb over and choreographing that, and then later on in the process I ended up just throwing that out the window because it was like too much clutter mentally to do that while I was doing this.
Yeah.
And it ended up in the end being easier to just keep it all in place.
It's interesting because then when we approach actual pieces and repertoire, sometimes we make those decisions and then we actually throw them in the bin very soon as we actually get them up in tempo. And it's a classic case of you do have to practice at the tempo. Yeah.
I think it's
Exactly.
so important, you know, to people. We talk about this a lot on our cello power thing, is how we're all unique, and, you know, it's good to try things and then figure out what works best for your hand and you know, different things like that. But it is such an important thing you've said, Lynn, because I think a lot of times we can think like, no, it has to be this way, and I have to be able to do it like up to tempo and this, and very important to like always be adaptable and
and you know, I
sort of
don't
kind
think
to
it's a
yourself.
waste of time either. You know, if you spend time figuring something out and you don't end up using it, well, I mean, plenty of other pieces I've had to like choreograph where to move the thumb and helps.
It's never time
So,
wasted.
you know, training yourself to do it that way.
Totally.
One other thing that you just reminded me of, you know, you just said everyone's hands are different, and so another aspect of this piece that I feel like Popper uses uses your fourth finger up in thumb position a lot, and like for me personally, that's pretty awkward. My fourth finger doesn't really reach and is very weak up there when you have to, you know, it's harder to press the string down, of course, up here closer to the bridge, and so, you know, right off the bat from the beginning. But I need the music at this point. I'm just like habits. It is a harmonic, so I did the fourth finger. But then a few times later on in the Etude, they want you to use your fourth finger on a solid note way up here, and a couple of them I just shifted my third finger up instead. So, you know, maybe I didn't utilize that training aspect of this particular Etude, but, you know, I sort of cut my losses and said it's gonna sound more solid and it's gonna be in tune if I use my third finger.
But, well, that's a classic case, because I'd be quite similar with my hand. I would never really use fourth finger, not really unless I was at a push, whereas the Popper project, because it's so many fourth fingers, especially in the Barnwriter edition, where here it's not a harmonic, funnily enough, so there's a few differences like that. And actually my
I need to get that
become
edition.
way stronger. I don't know about you, Katie, but my fourth finger
Yeah,
is
well,
definitely
again,
like
it's the whole shorter fourth finger thing. I mean, the thing is, for me, I would usually avoid that also just because of the amount of rotation I would need to do to really have a balanced fourth finger. But now I'm just like, do you know what? Like, great opportunity to just like practice getting really used to that quickly, because we do sometimes have to do it, and it'd be hilarious, right? Like if there were no fingerings in this to see what people did. It would take a long time to figure out.
A lot more work,
I think.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I'm so glad there are, because, you know, for quick ease of learning one a week, you know, it's very handy.
Sure. That's a lot of material, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I only did one, you know, this time, but
well,
you know, if I kept, you know, going through and actually practicing it as much as I did this one, I bet you're right. Like your fourth finger would just get used to it, and you'd build that strength up, and then it would be maybe I should do that. Then I'd have like another. It's like having a new finger up there that I can have.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Nice.
It's so good.
I can't believe you did all 40 of these in high school.
No, me neither.
Doesn't mean I did them well, but you know, I learned them at least. Like
that is
That
very
is
cool. I should really
impressive.
get onto my high school students, a bit more of them.
Oh my gosh. Anything else, guys, of like absolute do we need to talk about?
Just a tiny detail, even at the very start. we do the... Did you guys actually shift, or did you just... Because that's another place where you need to make a decision. Do you do...
Like, do you keep
Stay
your
where your
thumb
thumb is?
in the same place?
Yes. It's funny for me because I hate doing kind of something where I'm not balanced over my hand. Typically for me, I always just shift because, no bother, do a shift and have the hand up there. But it is actually much more efficient to just stay, isn't it?
Yeah.
What did you all do?
And maybe that's a question for you, like what tempo you're at also, because
Exactly.
For me that would if I keep my thumb back, then sometimes if I'm stretching, the sound quality suffers a little bit. But at a fast enough tempo, you don't notice that, you don't hear that because it's just
Of course.
Yeah. So I ended up shifting. I don't like stretching so much, so I shifted.
Yeah,
but
I'm the same.
Maybe my life would have been easier had I done that. So
I know. I'm
Well,
looking at all
I
these
shift
questions.
Yeah.
I also shift. I mean,
Yeah.
I wonder if it's also like a size of the hand thing. Like, some
Yeah,
people
for
with
sure.
larger
Very much
hands
so. Yeah.
might find that like really easy. But gosh,
And then-
I'm just like amazed by there's a lot of creativity in these things because you could just there's so many solutions that you don't think of. It's like hive mentality. Anyway,
yeah,
sorry,
so much
Ailbhe.
troubleshooting or I keep saying
that's
choreography,
why I love it.
There's a lot of choreography going on, maybe
Yeah.
above and beyond the normal choreography of our like choosing fingerings.
Yeah.
It's like kind of making such a silly little like moment, but I actually thought about this moment quite a bit. So let's see. I have to pick out. There's a solid note within all of that, and then of course then we go more solid notes. But it's like you have all those harmonics, so you're sort of being light and fluffy and picking your fingers up, like what Ailbhe was saying earlier when she was doing number 40. It's a totally different technique of lightness with your individual fingers. And so you're in the middle of doing that, and all of a sudden now you have to do solid notes. So it's like switching gears, and to me that was like a little choreography moment where I think I may have even done a little bit of musical timing, added a little space so I could like make sure I got the solid note like nailed down there in the middle.
Yeah.
So like
there's another one of those as well at the very end where
right,
I don't know if you have the same fingering, but just where is our end bit? It's actually this.
There's an F sharp. Are you talking about the second to last measure?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. And you just did all of that, and then suddenly out of nowhere, what? Like, it's just awkward, isn't it?
Like random solid note, and you have to
stop
kind of.
I'll tell you what, guys. Like, this is like that's the thing too with Popper. You find little like holes in your technique, and this like finger picking like lightness thing. I mean, God, man. That you should have seen when we did Popper 40, like Ailbhe, because she's an amazing pianist as well, was like, "Ooh, I like this one." And I was like, "I hate this one."
I liked it because we didn't have to actually. Our thumb was so sore with the first 10 Popper Etudes we did, and then suddenly it was all like, I don't have to press down. It was great, but
whereas I'm a total like. Yeah, I guess we should. Yeah,
you can,
okay.
You can enjoy my like.
I love
I'm
it.
so
my
excited.
putting myself
I'm
on
so
the spot
excited.
too.
Cool.
So.
Nice job.
Oh my god, you're an absolute legend, Lynn. Holy
Oh,
cow.
Great. Nice job, Katie.
Oh,
Yeah, Katie.
let's round of applause.
I have a
Ailbhe.
dog, and he just started woofing over here when we started.
I mean, first
It
of all, you
sounds
make
fun.
it look so easy. Like,
Oh.
I mean, I just wake up and I do this, like, da-da-da. Oh man, no, it was
Well,
so
I'm
good.
glad it looks that way. Actually, you know, that's another aspect of recording it that I surprised myself with was that, you know, I recorded it a couple times through, and you know, and then like at the beginning of the recording process, and you know, you then watch it and listen back, and my dog is like tearing up a toy over there. In case you're hearing that, that's what that he's grunting, not me. Okay. Anyways, so I listened back and I watched back too because I was, you know, it's a video, and I basically was like a stone. I'm just like this the whole time, and I was like, I need to like put on a little act here and like look like I normally look when I'm performing, when I'm sort of like being able to enjoy myself. And it actually took quite a few more takes for me to feel like I was it looked a little bit like a performance, because I felt like the first few of them I thought I looked like a deer in the headlights, which is how I felt too. But you know, usually we're a little better at hiding that, because that's one of our jobs, is to hide when we feel like uncomfortable playing something.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was I had to work a little harder than usual to make sure I looked like a performer.
Totally.
Other than so that was
I'm hoping that by the time we've finished our like 40th one, that I will definitely have started, you know, acquiring all of the things that I need to remember before I get there. But maybe by our 40th one we'll be on easy ones by then, and it'll be like whatever. It's all good.
yeah.
Oh my
Super
gosh.
fun. Thank you so much.
Liz.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
been
it's been my
lovely.
pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. This is an incredible project, and I had so much fun, and you guys are
Thank you so much.
awesome. Thanks
Yeah.
very
We
much
should
for
do
having me.
a high five.
So,
We love to do
Yeah,
this.
high five.
High five.
Yay!
To
Yay, Popper!
Yay, Popper!
I can't believe you do one of these every week, and you actually like played the whole thing. I thought
Are you
maybe you might
kidding?
just play like a little bit of it, but you kept going, and wow.
Oh my
No.
god.
Yeah.
Well,
This is the reason that we're having heart attacks every single week. Like, at least I can't believe we're going to be doing this for a year, and we're still almost
But
like
it's
20
so
weeks
good
in.
for you. You
Every
know,
week.
maybe I'll like follow you from afar and like learn them along. The
Yeah,
would be,
absolutely.
yeah.
I mean,
the more
that's
the
the thing
merrier.
is like, I remember the first time we did one of these, and you're just completely like crapping yourself, and then now, I mean, I'm still on a level, but you know, it's changed, it's evolved, and it is that whole thing of like, if you can play something like this every week to another human being,
That's
it does
a
eventually
huge accomplishment. Yeah.
get easier.
I mean, I'm
is,
just
and
thinking
also-
about like how many weeks ago I started this, you know, and so
yeah, and
ooh,
how many?
if I had to
how
do
many
that after
ones
1 week, whew, props to you both.
This is it. That like some weeks some of them you need to spend 6 months on to get the technique really flowing, and if you don't have the time, you just have to do it where it's at, and then that's a project for later. You know. So.
Yeah.
And making your peace with that is a very good thing for me personally, because I never like putting anything out that's not perfect. So this has been a really good project for me to just get over myself in a very positive way and acknowledge that there's a process and that it's okay for other people to see you at a different part of your process. I think we've both found that.
Amen. Yes.
Yeah.
And some weeks we're at very different points in the process, like Pomper 40.
Well,
There's some
Ailbhe having like 1,000 concerts this week. I mean, this week was a low point for Ailbhe's practice, but I'm gonna hope that my performance game, you know, is gonna sharpen the skills, right?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Are you ready?
Okay,
Are
I'm
you
gonna
ready to
take
have a
these
go,
out.
Ailbhe?
Let's do it.
Okay,
let's do
I'll
it.
I'll remove us so we can see your whole beautiful bow.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, like,
Ailbhe.
hilarious.
No, I am so. I
Bravo
do
to
not
you
know.
both, really.
I do not know how you do that after 7 hours of rehearsal. Like seriously.
That's
You're
true.
just-
She had a long day. That's a long day.
No, to be fair though, it's quite funny when I texted Katie and I was like, I just don't know when I'm gonna even have time to learn that this week. And she was like, just do your best. So I'm actually quite proud of myself that I did it.
Hey, I think that's fantastic. I'm impressed that both of you, you know, were able to spend a week and then actually perform it in front of
Cool.
people, as you said. Yeah, that's.
Well, very nice supportive people who made us feel all warm and cozy about doing
Yeah.
it. So that's lovely. So
Absolutely.
Thanks for that.
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, great fun though.
I
Well,
know.
Well,
Yeah.
I suppose it's my turn at some point.
Yay! Do you
Yes,
want to
let's
have a
do it.
go?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm gonna take us off. Let you go. 1 sec.
Wait, we're doing the video I recorded, right?
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah, definitely. It's
Okay,
just
good.
for if you want to like play it to us. You
You
don't have to.
No, there's no
Do
pressure
you
to.
want me to do it now?
It's
No,
if
no,
you
you-
only if you want to. It's completely up to you. Like if you want
You
to put
don't
yourself
have to. There's no
through the
pressure.
ringer of playing to 2 cellists, something we've all
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, hey, I feel like you two just like, you know, put yourselves out there, but you'll use my actual recorded
Yeah,
one, right?
definitely.
Yes,
Well,
Did-
none of this
hey,
is getting used.
You've had a long day. If you don't want me to do this, that's fine. What would you like?
No, please do. If
Yeah,
you're,
go
if you
for
want
it,
to
yeah.
do it,
Okay.
like, it's
Okay,
all part
I'll
of the fun, you know.
I recorded it using my iPad as like with the. Oh, and that was another problem. I had to turn one of the pages like in the middle of the like. In the middle of that one, I was like, you know, getting my foot over and like, finding the pedal and everything. So
Hilarious.
that was fun.
I love
But
it.
yeah, let me do it now.